and good morning, good day, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Craig Whitney back again here for episode 2 on the Legacy Forge podcast. I'm here with Emily Fordham, the founder of ADHD to Success, or Success to ADHD. Brilliant.
Succeed with ADHD.
That's the one. Being ADHD myself, it's crazy. Yeah. It's an interesting journey for that on how to master ADHD to your superpower as business leaders, entrepreneurs, managers, and even self-leaders. And I'm here with a very special guest and a good friend of mine who I've known for a few years, who's been a huge influence on my life and shaping me and helping as I navigate this journey through ADHD myself. So give a warm welcome to Emily Fordham.
Thank you, Craig. It's lovely to be here, and it's been beautiful to witness your journey of transformation over the last few years as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Before the titles and brands, we'll just get straight into it. Who were you at your core?
Straight into it. Who am I? Who was I at my core, or who am I at my core?
Who are you at your core before the brands and all this business? Who were you? What come about this?
Well, I think we grow with life. I'm now in my mid-40s, mid to late 40s actually, closer to nudging the 50. And it's been a growth of journey throughout all of the transitions of my life. So who I know myself to be now at 47 is a different person to a point as who I was in my 30s, who I was in my 20s, certainly who I was in my teens. There's qualities that I've always had in me, obviously being neurodivergent and being ADHD and undiagnosed and a girl. There was a lot of qualities within me that weren't recognized for them being good qualities, like you're too loud, you're too much, you're too bossy, you're too this. So I grew up with a lot of the stigma of you're too much, everything. However, and went through the school system thinking I was dumb. And it was when I got my first job at the age of 18, I actually went, oh, gee, wow, I'm actually pretty smart, and had a very successful career in sales and marketing and a lot of confidence and leadership. You know, I was promoted to general sales manager in the RG Capital radio network when I was 23 years old. And I was the youngest ever GSM. In fact, my GM lied to the CEO and told him I was 30, and I got my hair cut shorter to make myself look older, and I wore clothes to make myself look older. But, you know, they're qualities, Craig, and they're part of the strengths of being a neurodivergent person. You know, we enthusiasm, excitement, passion, you know, excellence. I've always loved and wanted to do things well, and I think that was part of the frustration in hindsight with school. Is one of the things about me is I like to do things all out, the best to my ability. And obviously the school environment and the education system, certainly back in the 80s and 90s, did not foster that for a neurodivergent kid. Catholic education as well, and Catholic girls' school education too, which was very traditional, no consideration of the creative industries. You know, I feel like they missed my whole calling in a way of some of the grown-ups around me too. You know, interior design, marketing, it was all there. I was obsessed with fonts in primary school. I loved typography. You know, I've done half a graphic design diploma in my adulthood. My mum renovated the kitchen when I was 12. I went to every single appointment, picked out the tiles, was involved in the whole process. And it actually was a kitchen that got nominated for a Queensland Homes Award. And it won, actually. You know, hello, interior design, architect, you know. Yeah, and it just, I wasn't in an environment that ever thought to pull out the strengths of who I was. And certainly that's what I try to give back in the kids that come into my life. I'm a mum as well. You asked about that. And, you know, the conversations I have with the teenagers in my life is to get them to get in touch with what it is that they love and what they're passionate about, because, you know, you're going to work this career for 20, 30, 40, maybe even 60 years by the time the medical, you know, education and everything for them, they could have a very long working career. You know, find what you love. And, you know, that's where I'm at now. Back to that, you know, I'm very grateful for all of the work that I've done, sales, marketing, and those people-focused industries and jobs, but, you know, coming into alignment of coach and being able to help people with transformation, inspiration, motivation, the emotional, clearing up the emotional stuff, seeing people break free and, you know, get choices in their life. That's what lights me up the most, is when I see people taking new action to things that had never occurred to them before, that they could have that for themselves.
That's right.
Probably didn't answer much. I don't know if I answered your question. So
Certainly answered the question. I absolutely agree.
yeah,
Growing up I'm a 90s kid, so I was born in 85, but schooled from about 1990 onwards. And
yeah,
ADHD, what was it back then? It was just I absolutely agree, intense, sit in the corner. I'm bored. Well, do what the other kids do. I couldn't sit in class. I was bored. I was always mucking up, playing up. I couldn't sit still and focus. And Dad always used to say, I mean, could be suggested I got a lot of my ADHD and neurodivergence from my father to some point because of, as I look back, his set routine of being a farmer. Everything had its place every day and structure. And also Dad couldn't focus on the small things like literacy and numeracy. And I was exactly the same way. I mean, you stick me in a maths class or something like that at school, and I had tremendous struggles focusing. I still to this day with high detail and you stick something academic in front of me and I'm gone. But yeah, growing up in the 90s, absolutely. What was ADHD? Dad always used to say, get them out in the paddock, work. You got that extra gift of energy. Go work harder. Go down and give the family a hand, give the uncles a hand, in the paddock. We'll go and get a job at the local sawmill. Yeah, work. Get in the army. Let them drill it out of you. Work,
yeah.
and work some more.
And you just said it, Craig. You just said it. Your dad said you've got that extra energy. Bang, there it is right there. But you weren't diagnosed either, and it wasn't identified for you. And the fact you said that your dad is probably ADHD and worked as a farmer, well, he was physical labour outside all day, every day. Again, can be a real strength for us ADHD people to work in physical jobs. And I worked from the age of 12. My first job was cash in hand in a butcher shop in, Maguirda's in the valley here in Brisbane every Saturday and Sunday. I loved work. I loved work, and I worked from the age of 12. I've never not worked, only post having children is the only time. And actually I was at a loss after that too. I didn't know what to do with myself, and a bit of identity crisis when I first became a mum because I'd never known how to not work. So we are really hard workers. That's one thing for us ADHDers is our work ethic is incredible when it suits us, right? Like aligned.
Yeah, definitely. It's interest-based, yeah. Certainly interest-based. We have to be interested in what we're doing. Otherwise, the boredom sets in. I know in my case, I get bored very easy. Attention is a mission, especially for those challenging times where I need to focus, where I struggle to focus on something that's quite heavy, whether it's work-related or educational-related. It's about finding what's aligned with us, with our highest purpose to gain that true interest to keep us going. Because we can work like dogs. I mean, I know in my younger 30s, I could put in the 15, 16-hour days on the road as a driver or as a young labourer in the meatworks, because that's also my background in the abattoirs. I could do 7 days a week easily and still have the energy and fire to come home. However, outside of that, it's that identity. It's the identity that we take on. It's like, who am I? Am I just a labourer working for someone else, or am I a young man coming through the ranks? And you yourself could be agree or not, as a young mum coming through, finding themselves in their life in their 30s, having kids, going through that whole cycle of discovering, I'm a mum, walking the line of relationships and marriages, and then working out, hey, I'm different. I'm doing things different. I can't fit in this picture to some degree. The education system teaches us that we're fish and tests us with the ability to be treated like fish, but expected to be to climb a tree. And all the same to climb a tree without bringing the uniqueness out in each individual child, regardless of their strengths, their weaknesses, their neurodivergence, ADHD, and all the flavours that resemble around that, and working with the students with their strengths and bringing so much of that gold. Yeah. So what was life like before success with ADHD in business for you?
So life, again, it's been a journey, Craig. So through a big part of how I got into entrepreneurship. Again, a story. Back when I was a kid, my first was a lolly shop when I was 10 and sold lollies at school. Then I had a trade business with my ex-husband, electrical aircon and solar business, which we grew to 23 staff and a good turnover. And that's when I really stepped into my leadership and being a business owner. We invested in business mentors in that time. So that was really helpful to my growth as a leader, because when you're a leader in your business, the skills that you need to run a business is so much more than the technical aspects of generally the work that you do, which is what most people start, especially in the trader game, right? Good electrician, you go off the tools, like create your own business, or you start on the tools, and then there's the marketing, there's the sales, there's the operations, there's the compliance, there's the legal, the insurance, like the customer service. It's massive. So, the greatest self-development journey you can ever go on is become a business owner, because nothing will uncover like your limitations quicker than owning your own business. And it's still no difference with launching Succeed with ADHD for me as well. It's back to the drawing board of customer service, sales, writing a program, results, transformation, especially in the personal transformation space for people, and wanting to deliver on what their expectations are. So yeah, I'm still growing in that journey, Craig, and by no means, it's not done. And I have a growth mindset. Like, I'm never not growing. I'm never not learning something new. You can see all the books on my shelf. I have read a fair ton of them. There's another 260 in my Audible account, and I can see the number of books behind you. So I'm an avid learner and reader. I don't consume normal television. My consumption is mainly YouTube, podcasts, and books, and we'll have the occasional Netflix downstream that way, but mostly no. It's just constant, because hello, I'm passionate about succeeding.
Yes, definitely. Like minds think alike. This is just my selected few of books behind me, and I've got probably another 200 odd downstairs and across 3 different bookcases that I'm currently going through, both academic and personal development. I'm a vivid reader, believe it or not. Again, it's that interest base. I love reading. So do you, by the looks. And it's that consistent study of self and leaning on the tools, the external tools, to improve the greater self. And you're absolutely right. There's nothing like launching your own business. And as we journey along the life, particularly with us with ADHD, there may be multiple projects that come along. There may be first, second, third, fourth, even fifth businesses, 5 businesses before we find that one that really aligns hard with our values and our highest truth in our world, where we can use our uniqueness of ADHD and neurodivergence as that gift that we bring to the world, where we fall into line like that piece in the puzzle. Yeah. Where was I going?
I think it's
Scribble moment.
No, I don't. I think it's hard to be in line though. I think being in the line doesn't actually work for us. I've been in traditional workplaces the last 6-7 years because of the divorce. I've worked full time since then. Put a roof over my head and food on the table and 2 kids. So I'm still working full time while launching Succeed with ADHD as well. Between the two, because I know that's where I'm best suited overall. So yes, I've still been in traditional corporate workplaces over the last 5 or 6 years. And it is hard to form the line. Like, I will not lie. It's hard to conform. It's hard to conform. And, and I know that about myself. I've been fortunate to, again, work in environments that suit me and are flexible, and I'm very selective of that as well. It's not just any job that I will take and do, or any company I would just work for either. I know that about me, that it's got to have that level of alignment. So, I'm grateful for the opportunities and the jobs that I have done. And again, I've still learned. I've learned in every one of them, and I've met fabulous and worked with amazing people as well. But yeah, ultimately, I do think it's hard for us to do that corporate conformance for some of us in the neurodivergent space.
Exactly. It would sort of look like in my realm of life is finding my line and becoming the best I can be within that environment. That makes sense. I know the conditioning from the corporate and most blue-collar workplaces is to conform to someone else's values. Being a courier, the first thing I notice when I walk into job sites, regardless if it's tradies or white-collar, is what's painted on the wall, the values, the mission statements, what the company stands for. Then I look across and observe what the workers are up to. it's making that comparison. It's like, okay, is the team fired up for the organization? And then I look across and workers are standing around talking. They're not doing nothing. The supervisors nowhere to be seen. A couple of fellas are, in generalization alert here, out and about having a smoke when they're not supposed to. There's just no morale, and the organization's just hanging on by a thread. And then there's other organizations where I've walked into and I've found myself as a driver in unique and interesting perspectives and meeting different and high powerful people, where it's a team culture where the whole team comes out and greets you and makes sure you're well looked after. So I guess on our journey, particularly as ADHD, is finding our line and recognizing that and becoming the best we can be, taking on all this amazing training that we can and experiences, because life is a journey, not a destination, ripping into an amazing personal development to our level to help us grow and become the best that what we can be within our environments. Because no matter who we serve, whether it's our own business or learning experiences through organizations, those skills are going to pay off later on down the track. Yeah, that fair enough?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So you got an amazing gift here, Em. So when people first meet you, what's one thing they should know about you to see the world?
One thing they should know about me to see the world, as in through my perspective?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, one of the things I hope to impart to my clients, or what I see, what I want to grow within the community of Succeed with ADHD, is actually self-compassion, Craig. That's probably been one of the biggest practices, really. Self-compassion's a practice. We need to use it for ourselves. And that was probably one of the greatest aspects of my midlife awakening was, putting the ruler down, flogging myself, measuring myself as a parent. So that's one thing. The ruler of parenting was a big thing for me that I've worked through, in self-compassion. I'm doing the best I can with what I've got, with what I know how, and practicing that self-compassion. So in my parenting, and for my circumstances and what I've got to where I'm at, again, it's a journey. I'm not at the destination. I'm also not crazy focused that is a defined destination. Very much the gift is within today. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but I will show up the best I can today, planning and aiming and taking action to do the best that I can today. And, tomorrow shall be what tomorrow's dividends are. But that kindness, that's the biggest thing I think I share the most with a lot of people, how they speak to themselves, being kind to yourself, extending yourself some self-compassion and practicing that would probably be one of the biggest things of if you want to say an agenda. Not that we really have agendas as a coach, but probably one of the biggest things I see for people in middle age that I'm working with, and that is the self-compassion for themselves,
Self-compassion is definitely important. How you treat yourself is the direct resemblance of how the outer world treats you.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. And it's important to go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I think we have the technical glitch. No, you go.
It's important to have self-compassion for oneself, because life, the world out there, particularly for us ADHD peeps, it can be quite cruel and challenging at the best of times. And some of the times it comes down to a misunderstanding, generalization alert. However, it's important to have self-compassion for self and self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness for me has been a huge, huge step, knowing the journey of life that's been, taken forward. Learning to forgive and being compassionate on self is important. I absolutely agree. Self-compassion is important for this journey. So every founder hits resistance. What's been your hardest moment to building this organisation so far?
In terms of execution, it's actually producing the content and putting myself out there from a marketing perspective. I mean, the way to market yourself these days is obviously, producing content and video. Me alone behind the camera, even the photography alone still has not yet occurred. All of my clients have come to me mainly through interactions online, with commenting and responding in groups and posts and things, and then people who know me through a network or have recommended me. So people have met me and then they go, how do I work with you? That's how all of my clients have found me so far. But to succeed with ADHD is bigger than that and needs to be bigger than that. Call it comfort zone, call it resistance. I think part of it's, I love the conversation. That's why like to get to do this podcast. Thank you. Because conversing with someone else, easy for me and easy to talk about all of the things, but alone behind a camera by yourself, it's not natural for me, and it's not my engaging style. You know, I'd rather talk to people one-on-one directly all the time in that way. So that is my resistance. Having to be the part of the brand as well. Sales and marketing is my strengths, background, skills, all of the things. I have marketed many a product, and I didn't mention it earlier when you asked about my entrepreneurial career. I actually have done marketing consultancy at times. I was in the early adoption of digital marketing. So actually I was online marketing executive at whatif.com back in 2007, and I managed their Google AdWords account, and it was a 7-figure budget. And if you could put it in a briefcase and that account, it would have been chained to my wrist. That's how confidential and how important that Google AdWords account was to whatif.com back in 2007. And I got to be the online marketing executive and head that up under a great manager, Matt Farley. And he's gone on to great things too. And then from that, obviously had my daughter. And then so I was doing marketing consultancy on the side. And then I worked for a digital marketing agency, another great entrepreneur, Matt Foreman, and his wife, Belinda. And I was writing social media strategies for some of the biggest companies in Australia and Queensland. I've got to do the math now, and it's going to show my age, but like 15 years ago, I was writing social media strategy and analysing social media data 15 years ago.
Wow.
And now I've got to launch a social media brand. So again, just because you're behind the tools or on the tools for any other brand and company, fine, and it's now me, I've got to do it for me. It's a different experience, you know. So I got all the knowledge and I've done it, even the practice and the execution, but it's very different when it's you, yourself, and your own brand, for sure. So that is my biggest challenge, Craig.
For sure. You've had resistance, you've had challenge, you've learnt the skills. What moment or event did you realise there was a need for succeed with ADHD in business?
I think for my own journey, Craig, of the strengths of who we are as ADHD people, first and foremost, like the strengths that we have, we're tenacious, we're creative, we're exuberant, we have high energy. So it's well categorized that some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world are neurodivergent. And obviously the question of the historical figures now looking back, were they neurodivergent too? You know, your Van Gogh, Beethoven. There's a lot that now understand that perhaps these people were neurodivergent. So I think neurodivergent people are brilliant. I think people with ADHD are amazing and have a lot of gifts to give the world. So it's from that reason, really, Craig, and my own journey with it. And again, being a business owner and having done it, it suited me so well. We are brilliant in business. ADHD people are brilliant in business. We really can be.
That we are, and it's identifying and acknowledge the gifts that we have of ADHD. So why ADHD though? What gap did you see that wasn't being addressed in the business world specifically?
Well, again, ADHD people with our high creativity and potentially impulsivity, distractibility, you know, being able to help harness some of those aspects of it to be able to forge it forward, but also the reassurance. And I think, again, that strengths-based coaching, that these are also the qualities that will make you successful too. Because, I mean, having an impulsivity, actually, by some experts have actually called that creativity. It's actually a creative download in a lot of cases, and again, can be used for good. So, you know, that moment of inspiration that comes, that idea, bang, you execute it and do it because you can, because you're ADHD and you just went with your gut. You know, you didn't write up a one-page business plan or, you know, put it to a committee and have to get a vote and blah. You just did it, and guess what? It worked. Okay, like that's what I think the gap is for working with people with ADHD entrepreneurs. At the same time, sometimes having a sounding board going, hey, I just had this idea. And you go, yes, that is brilliant. However, you need to just shelve it behind the other thing that you said you'd get done first.
So what I'm hearing...
And it's being able...
What I'm hearing is speed of implementation, and done is better than perfect.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, and perfectionism can be an ADHD person a challenge at times. You know, it can come from a learned overcompensation from trying not to get things wrong because, you know, obviously a huge history of our education and during that time was, you know, getting criticised, judged, yeah, you're wrong, not knowing. those sorts of things. And over time, we've learned to overcompensate. So if I over prepare, if I make this the best, then maybe I'll avoid that. And of course, as you know, none of this is conscious. So even trying to catch it, that's what you're doing or someone's doing, that's what's going on. As you know, it's below the surface. It's well ingrained neurological patterns. The neurology is there because it's an ingrained pattern, and that's the work you and I do, is help doing pattern interrupts on people and having them realize where maybe they can adopt a new way or try it a new way.
Exactly. So how has ADHD shaped your approach in leadership in business?
I think, again, ADHD people, we have a very strong intuition. We're very empathetic and intuitive. So in my leadership role, I really lean into my intuition. And again, I've come to learn to gut what I know, that gut instinct is right. And I've been able to see employees. I know when they've become disengaged. I knew when one of our key staff was going to resign just purely because his wife didn't sit beside me at the Christmas party that year. And, I left that event and I said to our operations manager and my ex-husband, I said, he's going to resign. And they went, "You're out of your mind, bro." And I went, "I'm not." And he did, So I trust my intuition and feel into people as such. And, it's one of the elements that can make you a great coach. It's one of the things that can make you a great leader. So you've got to be able to read your people. If you're in leadership and business, at some point, you need staff and people if you want to grow and scale. So ADHD people, we can be great with people too.
Exactly right. Intuition, you mentioned that's a key strength. Situational awareness is another way to bring it out in people. So with intuition, I'll get that word right, how do you deal with doubt from yourself or from others along this journey?
Self-doubt, something I definitely see in my clients. That's definitely something I see, that lack of self-trust. And again, as you would know from being a coach, Craig, there's certain things where that is a symptom of lack of trust of self, how that's expressing. I do trust myself, Craig. I've had this conversation with some very close girlfriends lately, especially, they're going through some job transitions, career transitions even. And, regularly talk to them. They're like, I trust myself. So what I know is I've got capabilities and skills. So I've never been scared of, say, never not doing anything that it takes. So if I had to, and I'm not derogatory this, I'm nervous to say this is a thing because I don't want it to mean insulting, but if I had to clean toilets to put a roof over my head and food on my table, I would clean that toilet, Craig. I mean, I would cut up meat. I pretty much would, and nearly also have, do anything that it takes. That's what I know about me. So I know I've got that in my back pocket. Do I make mistakes? Hell yeah. Of course I do. I know I can apologize too. That's probably one of my other greatest life mottos that I live by. It's okay, and I prefer the word F up, but I won't say it. It's okay to make a mistake. It's how you fix it that matters, right? And that's something that I've always tried to impart to my children as a parent. And they see me make up and clean up with them, right? So yes, mum has her emotional, angry outbursts. Of course I've had them. I clean that up with them. I explain how mum reacted then. Not cool. Not the mum I want to be. Not how I want to go about my life. I'm really sorry. And I'm really sorry about the impact that had on you. I own my side of the street, So I have self-trust because I know I can always clean it up, or at least make my amends to clean it up, right? The other person may not take it, that's their side of the street. But yes, I will make a mistake. I will stuff it up. But I know that I will do what's got to be done to try to course correct that. So I don't feel a lot of self-doubt or self-trust in that, low self-trust in that way, because I think that's back to that quality of the human, the attributes within me, kindness. I love kind. I know that people would tell you I'm one of the most generous people, and I know that I'm generous. I'm kind. I'm bloody generous. I'm supportive. Like, the qualities that I have within me as a human are all the good qualities that I know will help me show up and get through, really.
Exactly right. Having the self-kindness, fixing your mistakes shows, one, it shows compassion for self. It shows action, because words mean nothing unless action's taken. Sorry is a loose term these days without action.
I used to hate the word sorry, Craig. I used to hate it. Not because of not mine, but again, people who say sorry and then it means nothing. The demonstration of it means nothing.
Well, sorry comes from the root word from, I think it's Greek, is sorrow. So when simple mistakes, when we say I'm sorry to someone, we're literally throwing sorrow onto someone else. So, and I'm happy to be wrong, but although through my learning, sorrow is a bit overkill in some ways. I think it's just, I apologize is a much better statement and a much better way. And okay, this is my plan forwards. Let's get into action. Let's repair this. Let's learn from this mistake and move forwards. Put the feelings aside. I get the feelings, and some things can be a powdered keg on subjects. However, what's the plan forward? How can we negotiate this and make amends and fix this? I think that shows courage, particularly with us with ADHD and neurodivergence. It's the courage of stepping forwards as, okay, failure, it's okay to fail. Failure is part of life. How do we move? Pretty much.
Absolutely. And I've had adversity, Craig. Like I've had adversity. So again, when you've come through the other side of one of those, it's who you know yourself to be because you went through that. So
exactly.
I also carried that on my back. Well, with me,
So many leaders that you work with, I'll use the term drift and into burnout. Now, drift is unconscious behaviors those little things that slowly add up over time. And drift does have an invoice attached to it at some point. What signs of drift did you notice in yourself or your clients, and how did you counter it?
So signs of drift, I'd put health right up there, Craig.
Health, one of them, yeah.
If you're not looking up, foundation is that fuel, that fueling your body well or not fueling it well, alcohol, any of those kind of substances. If you're reaching for substances, to deal with your stressful work week, business is stressful. It absolutely is. But having those, there's a resourceful way to deal with those kind of things. So I would say drifting looks like substance use increasing in many ways, not fueling your body well, not exercising well, slow decline, they're not sleeping well. And so I think that's a real foundation of what needs to be taken first. And then additionally, obviously relationships around other people as well. We are a connected species. We live in a society. So again, the connection and the relationship with the health of those people around you, and who you keep around you, who's your tribe, your vibe attracts your tribe, and again, that's why bringing a community together or hanging out in a business community, that's a fundamental part of our success of our business. Was we were in business with business mentors who brought people together in groups, and that's how you get to extend your tribe and meet other people that way. So again, isolating, that's probably the reverse of that, is isolating. So again, a leader who starts isolating and not putting themselves around a tribe, but an accountability tribe too, whether it's your friends, your partner, your family, or, the business people who accept a lower standard. So if you hang out with people who accept low standards of yourself as well, I think that can be a way you come adrift too.
Exactly. You are who you associate with. And it goes back to the old saying, you are the sum total of the 5 people that you associate with closest. Yeah? That sound fair? And definitely.
Yeah, they used to calculate it on your salary and your earnings as well. But I think with social media and our digitally connected world these days, maybe your 5 might be a little bit broader. Your number might be slightly higher than a 5. But definitely your tribe matters.
Definitely your tribe matters. In particular with us men, we call it the lone wolf syndrome, is when we tend to isolate. We're conditioned, comes from our conditioning too, to do stuff on our own. We can do this on our own. We can try to do this on our own when in reality we can't. We need brothers. We need accountability. We need to be around other people who can challenge us for growth, not just the socials and down the weekly pub on a Friday night. Mentors and guides who can really challenge the best within us and not be scared to have those confrontational conversations in order to achieve growth. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, that's love, Craig. Being able to have the tough conversation with someone, I'm worried about you, or you don't see yourself, or, hey, I noticed you're no longer going to the gym. You haven't been to the gym for 2 months, or I noticed you're drinking beer every night. Like, I just got to check in with you on this.
Yeah.
Is this what it's about? Obviously, they're struggling with something.
Exactly.
So, but again, come from a place of compassion, not judgment, not criticism. It's like, hey, I'm worried about you. What are you dealing with here that that they may not even know too until they get to express that and have that conversation. Again, as you know, that's what we do. That's so powerful in coaching. I think it's nearly 90% of what we do is the listening and allowing people to express what's inside of them, and especially the verbal processes of ADHD. Until they say it, they may not even know that that's what has been going on for them. So, checking in with someone and being able to reflect to them what you see is occurring may be the one thing they need. So shying away from that as a friend, an employer, employee, shying away from those conversations does not serve anyone. So it is the courage to be able to have a conversation, but you come at it from a place of compassion and love for that person, for what you see is going on for them that may not be aligned to their potential that that they have. Oh, lost you.
Here we go. We're back.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Hello. I was just about to.
That's all right. We had a bit of a tech freeze, squirrel moment. I think we got that. So noticing our superpowers within, we got all that. So when in your leadership that ADHD was your absolute superpower, when did you notice that?
Well, I didn't get diagnosed till 7 years ago, Craig. So actually it was right at the end of owning my trade business that I came to even get the diagnosis of ADHD. So it's been more a join the dots in hindsight of that success as opposed to knowing at the time. I guess what it gives me now with Succeed with ADHD is understanding where I may go off the track. Like the distraction is a classic example, and the overlearning as well. It's like I literally have written on my wall, I do not buy another course because, that love of learning and wanting to just know the other next thing I think that I need to think I know to be able to make Succeed with ADHD successful is, so it's more, again, play to your strengths, harness your weaknesses, or outsource your weaknesses has actually always been my saying. So I guess I'd created scaffolding and strategies in my life around my ADHD without even knowing I was ADHD. So a classic example was, we had an au pair when the kids were small. And one of my most, again, famous descriptions of us, me and the two children, was that we were 3 whirling dervishes in the morning trying to get out of the house. What that was ADHD and 2 ADHD children. And so that the distraction, trying to leave the house in the morning to get them to school on time and work was huge. That was ADHD. What my scaffolding was I got an au pair for that, and they handled a lot of the routine. They handled the meal planning. That was the other second biggest thing that I outsourced to them, was exiting the house in the morning and meal planning and meal cooking. And that is still one of my biggest challenges of ADHD is the interest to cook, the planning to cook. That would be my biggest challenge and hate of ADHD is that. So I scaffolded well, and that's what I realized, again, in hindsight, but being able to advocate for myself. And again, back on the what do I hope for clients, along with self-compassion, the next thing that I put behind that one is self-advocacy. What do you need, or what works for you? What doesn't work for you? And making that really okay. It's okay that I don't want to cook. It's okay. It's totally okay. Right? To other people, there is judgment there for sure. There's people who look at me and we have the conversation, and again, about that, they don't understand or they can't relate to why that's a challenge for me. But I'm okay with understanding that's a challenge for me because there's other stuff that I do that's bloody brilliant, and I'm cool with that too. So self-advocacy of really going, okay, these are the biggest challenges and these are my greatest strengths. So the more time I sit in strengths, obviously the happier I am as a human, the better functioning I am in all aspects of my life, the more time I spend in a strength-based activity than a challenge activity.
Exactly right. Self-advocacy is important, and accepting the fact that sometimes it is okay to not do things. So letting those expectations down and not having those high expectations like, I don't want to cook tonight. I don't want to do this tonight. It's okay. It's okay. And plan, and having that scaffold, for a better term, is important to our daily survival with ADHD. Knowing what needs to get done, not have to get done. Living in that preparation, that be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm okay about it. I'm okay that I have a cleaner, what she achieves in 2 hours would minimum take me 6. And in that time in 6, I'd probably go off and do something else anyway. So I'm totally fine that part of my budget and my living, that 2 hours a week from a cleaner just makes my life work and work well. And that's okay. So yeah, again, it's okay to advocate what you need for yourself to make your life work.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Coming from self-advocacy, we move into legacy. So
Mm.
legacy is at the heart of the Legacy Forge. This is what this whole podcast is about. What does legacy leadership mean to you?
Legacy leadership. So, legacy leadership to me means taking responsibility for your own life. It's my life. It's my responsibility to live my life. It's my responsibility to say, to learn, to know what makes me happy. What do I get a kick out of? I bloody love swimming. I love yoga. I love being there for my friends. I love my children. So to me, it's being responsible for me as to what matters to me, what I can do for others as well, and showing up with that responsibility of my life to live it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, what future do you see for entrepreneurs when ADHD is understood and leveraged properly?
Well, it's a really good question, Craig. I think, well, I'm sure there'd probably be potential financing opportunities, not just ADHD, but ADHD women too. There's better advocates out there who have all the research and talk to the stats of this, as the success of women actually at the helm of companies and businesses they create make far more money, profitability, the whole thing. However, what's the level of venture capital investment in women? It's very, very low, but our results speak for themselves. So I think probably that, Craig, where it's maybe like, actually, this is a neurodivergent person with an idea. We know neurodivergent people can be very successful in business and entrepreneurship. Yeah, this person will be worth backing because they've got neurodivergence.
There's certainly a long line of examples of neurodivergent entrepreneurs out there,
Yeah.
and they are very influential. So, if leadership is influence, how do you teach leaders with ADHD and neurodivergence to move from performance to permanence?
Performance to permanence. What permanence? Give me your definition of permanence. Can
So
you just
permanence is totally anchored in who they are, their highest truth. They know their gifts, they know their strengths, they're aware of their blind spots, and they're totally grounded 110%. That solid oak tree leader.
Well, I would say working with a coach to start with, right? Like, I think, again, if you're in leadership, business, again, having that, your tribe is fundamental. Having a key support person or people around you would be one method of being able to be permanent, knowing what works for you, outsource what doesn't work for you and those challenges, and make sure you have some really good people around you, and also who and where you're seeking your advice from, and that kind of guidance, that they get who you are, but that they can also impart that wisdom of what they may have to help ground you and keep you anchored.
Exactly right. It anchors in proximity is power, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So as we move to the pointy end of this episode, for leaders listening right now, what's one simple strategy they can apply today to manage ADHD and sharpen their focus?
Well, I'm a huge believer in like an accountability template that is a cornerstone of my coaching programs with my clients, is that weekly accountability sheet, based on your goals and what you're going to do for the week and a few other things around that. As you know as well, you're NLP trained, so focus on outcome, and we know the structure of developing an outcome and why that's so important, because it's like, what are you moving towards? What are you here for? What matters? So having a clear guidance of what that is. And then that every week on a Monday morning, that is what I do. First up on a Monday, it's planning. It's planning for a good, 15 to 30 minutes, clear what got done last week, what's this week, and writing it out, and I've got my priority sheet for the week. Absolutely. That's that weekly planning, bum on seat, looking at the thing. What's the thing? And that's a key cornerstone of my program with my clients is an accountability sheet. And also from a community perspective will be one thing is the weekly live to create the space for neurodivergents to come and sit their bum in the seat and do their accountability sheet for the week. So that's one thing I want to develop as a coach. What will offer as the coaching for me is that weekly check-in Monday morning or Sunday night. For Monday morning, it's for me, but yeah. That's my strategy.
Accountability is important, isn't it? It's a key to our success, isn't it?
Well, it's the plan too. Yeah, accountability matters. I'm, wanted to call myself an accountability coach in the past. Was toying with that at one point as well. However, obviously coaching is definitely broader than just accountability. But yeah, it's a key fundamental of my coaching style is accountability.
And with the accountability worksheets, it's all about building a model, something to look at, yeah? Would that be right?
Yeah, framework and a plan. Yeah.
So we move from up here, getting to the head of thinking, churning, cognitive thoughts, out onto something physical to look at that, hey, I've got a model here as a client. I've got a model here I can build that I can work towards and keep myself accountable. And my coach who's backing me, who's supporting me, can help me keep myself accountable as well. Yeah? Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, sometimes it identifies what you're not doing. So you might write something down for 5-6 weeks. It's not happening. It could go on for months, actually. The point of working with a coach or someone else, again, that outside observer perspective to give an observation. Hey, I've noticed you've written this down for about 6 weeks now. What's going on? And either it's not of interest, they don't actually really care. That's why they don't want to do it. Or, you get to dig into that and underneath that. And either, and also things are too big. Overwhelm is, again, a very descriptive emotion by a lot of ADHD people, feeling overwhelmed. It's definitely been one of mine for me because everything's too big. The chunks of thinking are too big. Again, as a coach, that's one of the things that we help people, how specifically get specific. So from overwhelm to specific and digging in around that to help remove the overwhelm. And then, of course, prioritizing is a challenge for ADHD people. It's now or not now. So again, helping them order the priority of the things on the list.
Exactly right. Overwhelm is huge. I've done it really well in the past. I'm professional at it. I can assure for all the viewers and listeners out there, modeling is that pretty much the only way forwards. Having that model, building that model, breaking that model down so that the overwhelm and any other challenges that come along the way can be visually cued into a model and broken down for something to look at. Strengths, weaknesses, similar to a SWOT analysis, if we could put it that way. Break it down so we're fully consciously aware of everything around us that makes us tick so that we can move forwards and grow from it. And on a side note, for the critics out there who love to criticize mindset and mindset coaching or awareness coaching or anything like that, the criticism comes from a lot of people because they don't have a model to work with. Modeling, it's old school and it is important. Always have a model, whether that's a mentor, a coach, a piece of paper with a framework is classed as a model. What model do you have? Would be my question to any of those who like to criticize the art of any style of mindset or performance coaching. What model do you have? And if you haven't got a model, then I would freely suggest go and find a model of yourself, model of someone else, and model it. Yeah? Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah. Modeling.
Cool.
Well, that's what you have mentors for, right? Why I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in business mentoring in my past with the mentors I worked with. That's what I invested for. It's to close the gap on the learning, Craig, so that you minimize the pain, accelerate the learning, because that's what you're paying them for. That's what you want. There is a difference between mentoring and coaching, as you know. Coaching's more about digging into the intrinsic for your client, for the person, what's there for them. My clients get to get a little bit of both, especially if they are, being on the business journey, because, I have sales, marketing, business operation experience. I have, over 20 years of business experience in all of those fields. Of course, I'm going to impart some of that knowledge, but foundationally, I'm a coach with the bonus of being able to impart some business guidance in there for them as well.
Exactly right. Exactly right. If you could put one message on a shirt for every entrepreneur and client of yours with ADHD, what would it say?
I believe in you.
I believe in you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Because I believe in you and you are that and so much more, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And just closing questions. Who was your hero in your life? Someone who believed in you before you believed in yourself.
Well, actually, I've had a few bosses over the years, actually. Yeah, I've had a few experiences, Craig. Sometimes found out after the fact. I had been told that I had two jobs created for me in companies that didn't exist when they met me and created a job for me because they met me. So that was, getting that feedback when you get told that, hey, guess what? When we met you, we didn't actually have a job in this company. We created a job for you. I just got goosebumps. That was pretty cool, and one of them came off the back of having been made redundant. Back to adversity. And I got this lesson young. I was 21. I was working at the Courier Mail here in Brisbane, and September 11 happened. And Rupert Murdoch lost a lot of money, and he cut 1/3 of his workforce around the world. And I was one of the, I was one of them. I was the last sales rep on, and I just got promoted from sales support to sales rep. And so I knew I was the first one off in that respect, but it was a very humiliating experience. They had us all come in 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Cardboard boxes were placed on everybody's desks, and you sat at your desk and waited for that landline phone on your desk to ring, and it called you up to the boardroom. And in the boardroom was the chief of advertising, who you barely knew apart from passing in the hallway, and two complete strangers that you'd never met in your life, obviously legal and HR or something. Consultants, I think they brought in, and then they made it personal. So they told me that I was made redundant for personal phone calls and two other trumped up bullshit things. Back to your desk, pack your shit, walk out the door. I went home, sat on the couch, had a mortgage with my ex-husband. Actually, I had a broken arm. I'd broken my arm walking into work. So technically I wasn't even supposed to be at work, but the doctor had stuffed up and not given me a medical certificate. So so when I went back for my 6-week checkup, he's like, how are you? And I went, oh, pretty crap. I lost my job, got made redundant. He's like, you shouldn't have even been at work. However, result of that actually meant leaving and moving out of Brisbane. Adversity, put food on the table. We went for a business opportunity in a regional town for my ex-husband, but that's how I got my job at RG Capital Radio, and that they created a job for me at that radio station, and I got promoted to GSM there. Now, I've never held on. I'm not bitter about what happened in the Courier Mail. I get it. I was one of a number and a line on a profit sheet, right? But I learnt that lesson at 21. And that's also why I've never rested on my laurels of any company that is your saving grace or meal ticket. Like, it's just not. There's no such thing as job security. Do not believe that BS. And, I learnt that lesson back in 2000 and 2001, obviously. So I've always carried that with me from then. And I've had 2 redundancies in my working career, and neither one of them were ever because of anything I ever did as an employee or my performance, ever. They were always because of a balance sheet. So, at the end of the day, it does come down to numbers. So job security is BS anyway. So back to this whole entrepreneurial thing, that's absolutely why you should go for it, because if you believe that you've got job security, that's nuts. You don't.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Relying on someone else for your future is like rolling the dice. However, if you design and create your own future, you can be as secure as you want, as you wish. And with the right foundations in place, you can build the most secure life that you want, that you desire, so you can be the leader that you want to be. You can do the things you want to do and have that life or that lifestyle that you wish to create. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So if someone's listening today and feels stuck, unfocused, and on the edge of burnout, what's the one decision they need to make right now?
That's a tough one to give generic advice, especially with what that's going on,
Like a handbrake type thing.
So if they're unfocused, stuck, one of the first steps that, I think it's that know who you are. So what is it you want for yourself? Who are you? What do you want for yourself? Because that determines everything. So if you don't know who you are and what the hell you want and what lights you up, like what's important to you, what do you want to do? What do you enjoy? Get clear on that and then you can take action, because otherwise everything else is going to feel like shit, because it's not moving to what you want anyway. So, getting that clear would be the first thing. Absolutely. And then you can work on your circumstances. But
exactly right.
What is it in you that you need to know about you?
What is it in you? I absolutely agree.
What is it in you?
Emily, where can people go to learn more about your work and connect with you directly?
Well, I'm obviously on the socials, so Succeed with ADHD in Business is on Facebook and Instagram, upcoming YouTube videos, and school community. So I will have a paid joining community on the school platform, Alex Hamosi and Sam Owens' fabulous software, and that'll be my base foundation, plus a website, obviously, Succeed with ADHD.
Beautiful, amazing. Alrighty, thank you for this lovely episode today. It's been a pleasure connecting with you, and our journey of friendship along the way has come along nicely, and look forward to taking this and impacting lives as we both progress along our journeys and creating the future that we wish, and taking as many leaders as we want with us who choose to come for the ride of their life with us. Because when we focus on ourselves in this wonderful world of neurodivergence and ADHD, we can forge, if we choose, the life that we wish to be, do, and have, and we ascend. We can take ourselves up, and through that, we take as many leaders as we can through that phase of ascension, of growth, to build that legacy that we wish to have, to leave for the future generations of leadership. And then we can transform our current states of culture with leadership, with ADHD and everything else entangled in that, towards a better future for the benefit of all, for the greater good of community and the greater good of a better world for all. So, Emily, thank you very much for today. I appreciate your patience as we navigate this tech. And any final thoughts?
It's been an absolute pleasure, Craig. I look forward to keep watching your growth. I know there's some exciting opportunities coming up for you, and I look forward to seeing what you share and more of the guests that you bring on this podcast. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and stay tuned. This will be launched very soon. Alrighty, bye for now.